Hello, welcome to Sideways, and a Happy New Year to you. Well, we're on the heath this morning, which is probably why you can hear a lot of traffic and not very many birds. I've been on the lookout for the little missel thrush we've seen for several days this week, but she seems to have disappeared as the increase in traffic has arrived. But I like coming up here because it holds a lot of fond memories of my childhood. I used to come frequently to this rather unassuming municipal expanse. I played pitch and putt. It's not there anymore. Actually, it was only putting, I think. There used to be a big play activity shed that would be here every summer in holidays, where you could borrow footballs and cricket gear and stuff. It was also the place where I accidentally hit my sister's friend in the mouth with the golf club on my backswing. Anyway, all that sort of stuff is what we're talking about today, in a way, in amongst the sale of mosh pit diapers, how one urinates at festivals, taking a pet turkey on a 5k run, and the joys of old fragrances like Old Spice and Brute 33. Sentimental value. Sorry, it's me again. There's a dust lorry reversing and making a beeping sound, but you can probably hear the missel thrush. Listen. Don't confuse her with the seagulls. This is absolutely beautiful, and it always sits in exactly the same place at the top of the tree. I don't know, I don't think missel thrushes are particularly festive, but there's a nice nominative connection. So anyway, Happy New Year.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
It looks like you've got a new setup there. You've got a new background, and then, is that a new mic you've got there?
No, it's the one I used to use, and I'm using it because I couldn't be asked to get all the other equipment out and sort it out because I'm still in holiday mode.
Oh, how are you now?
Yeah, I know you've been working throughout the Christmas period, like Ebenezer Scrooge, but
There's nothing Scrooge about it. It's just that I was just doing my duty, really. That's all. It was quite a. I've never done that. I've never worked on Christmas Day before, but yeah.
What was it like?
Excellent.
Was it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Did you have a nice lunch?
Beautiful lunch, yes.
Was it?
Yeah, yes.
Did you have crackers?
We didn't have crackers, actually, no.
Oh.
No, but we had a fine spread.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
And then you were back in Boxing Day?
Yeah, it's just a normal week for me, really.
Did you have leftovers and pickles for lunch on Boxing Day?
No, we didn't. No, there wasn't much left over, to be honest.
Oh, I suppose that's good. That
it
reduces
was.
food waste, doesn't it?
Yeah, don't like that. How about your Christmas? Was that good?
Lovely. Super. Yeah. It was somewhat more traditional than yours, I imagine.
Yeah, it probably was. But I was a bit forgetful because I forgot we're supposed to be recording one last week, weren't we?
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to offer an apology to the listener.
I do apologise for that. Yeah, I just got caught up in the moment.
Yeah. Then when you messaged me and said with a message regarding recording this week, I thought, oh, so now you're going out of kilter.
Yeah, sort of.
Now we're recording in the off weeks.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I didn't want to leave it too long.
No. Well, did you think that the listener's rage might be building?
I could feel the tension, couldn't you?
Well, I couldn't feel the tension because I haven't done anything wrong.
Perhaps it's nervous tension, then. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, we're back in line now. Well, we're not in line, but we're back doing some stuff anyway, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. We're back with a vengeance.
It is. And what I wanted to talk to you about was sentimental value. That's the heading of my notes.
Where'd that one come from then? Because that's definitely not mine.
No, I think it was one that I did put on the list a long time ago, but I was reminded of it because when I was opening up my presents this year,
Yeah.
from various people, it just struck me that some of these items that I'm receiving are probably going to be sentimental value attached to them going forward. Are they going to be in that era? Yeah,
What, sentimental? Do you mean sentimental value to other people?
no, to me.
Oh, okay.
Going forward, it's I've always been, I don't know about you, but I've always been a bit of a hoarder of things that got a sentimental value attached to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and getting rid of those bits over the years have been a bit of a wrench if I've had to get rid of stuff. But I was just thinking some of I suppose it's stuff, especially from my children,
Yeah.
and they take on an extra level of value, far outweighing the actual value of the item itself. You have I have an immediate emotional attachment to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely have that. I mean, I think I've got better at it over the years, but there's certain things that, for instance, I've got loads and loads of birthday cards from my children.
Yeah.
I don't think, I doubt I've ever thrown one away because.
No, I couldn't. I've got the ones they made when they were
Exactly.
tiny at school and that sort of thing.
And I mean, obviously not all the pictures they did at school because you wouldn't be able to get into your house. But
I'll come on to that.
I've got a lot of pictures of, and a couple of them I've got up. Which
Yes.
I mean, by any sort of normal standards, they wouldn't pass muster as great works of art.
No,
I mean, they'd be
quite.
better than mine, obviously, but yes, they are there because of sentimental value. So.
Yeah, exactly. And in this episode, I sort of wanted to explore why we do this, why we keep all this stuff and why letting go can be painful but also liberating. So there's the areas I wanted to touch on. But before we start,
Yeah.
there's a couple of things that came to my attention. The first one, there's a company in the US has launched a mosh pit nappy. Our American cousins, they call them diapers, don't they? Rather than,
Does that mean you can be in the mosh pit and you don't have to go to the toilet?
exactly what it is. Yeah.
Oh my God, that is disgraceful.
Well, sometimes you don't want to lose your spot, do you?
Well, I mean, I've seen a lot of bands in my time, but I can't think
Yeah.
of anyone that I've seen that I'd be prepared to shit my pants.
Well, not shit. It was really just for pissing, really. But
Oh, well, does it stipulate that?
it doesn't stipulate that. But I think that's how it was designed.
That's making me think about, I imagine there is a similar product available for gamers.
There should be, don't there? Because we know of instances, don't we? Well, you read about instances of people not wishing to leave their game.
Yeah.
They're
So
losing
they must exist, I would think. I mean, your late brother, Paul, he
Yeah.
would need, I think I've said this before, that when we had Defender in the common room at college, he needed a free period before and after lunch to make it worthwhile him having a go.
He was that competent at it.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously in those days there were no diapers available, nappies available for any accidents that may occur.
No, they weren't. But I remember, probably you remember also, if you're at a festival, especially when it's dark, and you're in a spot and you're watching the band and you don't really want to go to the toilet because you would never find your place back again amongst your mates.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but as you've mentioned festivals, I mean, in reality, what actually happens then?
In reality, I've gone where I've stood in the past.
That's exactly what people do, isn't it?
Yeah.
They'll go where they stand, or
Yeah.
they'll go. I mean, I don't. It's not quite so easy for women.
No.
Or they'll use a empty pint pot, won't they? I mean, we
Yeah.
know that it happens because
Yeah.
otherwise you wouldn't have got showered with piss at a Foo Fighters gig.
Yeah, or see bottles of piss flying through the air. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's bad enough when you see a sort of a plastic pint glass flying through the air. You think I'm going to get showered with beer, and then you realise it isn't beer at all.
It's piss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the joys of festivals. Anyway, so it's probably quite a niche market, but I just thought it made me laugh and cackle a little bit when I saw it. I won't be investing in one, but
No, they probably. Well, I mean, you like a little festival, don't you? Maybe you should reconsider.
well, I do. But normally I can find my way to the toilet and back again at the smaller festivals.
Yeah, but you're not getting any younger, are you?
I'm not getting any younger, no, and I do have to go more frequently. So.
That's right, and don't forget those knees.
Well, quite, yeah, all that walking to and fro the toilets. They're often a long way from the stage, aren't they?
Yeah, that's good. I know what I'm going to buy you for your birthday.
And there's a second story. It's not particularly funny, but it's a local chap from Maidstone, actually. It made the national news. Because he took his... And it's quite festive, I suppose, in some ways, because he took his pet turkey on a 5-kilometre park run in a pram. Which, turkey being the meat of choice for many people over the festive period.
Yeah.
But apparently he also takes him to the pub and to the dentist.
To the dentist?
Yeah, not to get the turkey checked up. He just doesn't like leaving he's hand reared this turkey from a little chick, and it goes everywhere with him.
I can get behind that. I can understand that.
Yeah, nice turkey. It gives him cheese and onion crisps in the pub. Apparently, that's the choice of the discerning turkey. If they're in a choice.
I think I'd take the dogs to the dentist if I were able to. I might have I've got to go to the dentist in January. I might have a word with the dentist and ask her if how she'd feel about the dog coming.
Yeah, I suspect they'd probably be quite negative about that suggestion. But
well, they should be a little bit more open-minded. Shouldn't they, dentists?
Yeah. I could have taken my pet snake, Dylan. I could have taken him with me everywhere.
Exactly.
Apparently,
that's good. That's good. I've not seen that particular person around with his pet turkey, but I'm going to keep an eye open now.
Well, his name is Dave Brooker.
Right.
And he's your age. So
is he?
I'm surprised that we know plenty of people in Maidstone, don't we? But never seen him, that's for sure.
No. Okay, well, I'll keep my eyes open for a turkey in a pram. Not the sort of thing you forget, is it?
It's not really, no. Anyway, onto the sentimental value, the thrust of the episode. The definition from the Oxford English Dictionary is the value of an object deriving from personal or emotional associations rather than material worth. So that's quite straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it goes on to explain that things have different types of value. There can be financial value, there can be practical value, and psychological value. And it also talks about collectibles. A collectible you might put something aside and think, oh, that's going to be worth something someday. But other things seem to have no obvious usefulness or worth.
Like the Queen's Silver Jubilee coins. Most people had one of those, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of those sort of collectible things. I've still got a lot of football cards and stuff from my youth, from my childhood, really.
Yeah.
Got quite a lot of that sort of thing. But there is actually a recognised disorder for hoarding, and I'll come on to that because it says there is an excessive attachment to things can be considered unhealthy. And there's estimates for people in the UK that have a hoarding disorder. They reckon it's between 2.5% and 6% of the general population.
Yeah.
Which is quite tricky. And hoarding is characterised by not just letting go of material possessions, but it can also be the excessive or compulsive acquisition of new items. And then alongside perhaps the disorganisation with an ability to avoid clutter. I mean, I think we've all seen those documentaries, haven't we, where people's houses are so full.
Yeah, they can't even get in them.
They can't get in there. You have to climb through there's a small hole at the top of the door frame that it hasn't got clutter in. You have to go through. It reminds me a bit, actually, thinking about it. It's a bit like the Ricky Gervais series Afterlife, and Brian,
yeah, that's right. He's a hoarder. Yeah,
Brian, that's on there. Go to his house, and it's absolute full, isn't it? I've never actually been into anyone's house like that.
No, I haven't been into a house like that. I mean, my mum was a hoarder, definitely. I mean, she wasn't of that ilk, but I think I've said before that when she died, when we were clearing out her house, we were finding carrier bags full of empty envelopes and bits of, fabric that she'd bought that she'd never used. And my dad was the same, really. He had records that he'd bought that had never come out of their cellophane. So there's that sort of feeling that you want to acquire something for some reason other than its immediate practical or practical use or the enjoyment you might get from it, from the purpose for which it was created.
Yeah. There is another. I was reading a sort of a side issue to this, and that touched on a point because some people will buy something and not ever take it out its wrapper because it's all to do with once they do, the excitement of that purchase is gone.
Yeah.
I know someone that bought who had you can get bikes delivered in a box and you put them together, a push bike.
Yeah.
And he had a bike delivered and he never opened it.
Yeah.
It just sat in the garage and was never addressed. And whether there was laziness involved there or not, I don't know. But you'd think a purchase like that would be eager to get into it, but no, some people don't.
No, I kind of understand that a little bit. I mean, I don't think I've ever done anything quite like that, but I certainly, and I suppose this fits into some kind of a scarcity mindset as well, which is having something and not wanting to use it. I can be like that with pens or pencils or even food. Actually, sometimes I think, I really like that. I don't want to eat it, and then you think, well, what's the point of having it then? So I can understand that. My late father-in-law, he bought a kit car that just sat in the garage that he never made.
Never made,
yeah.
I wonder if something like that, putting a bike together, perhaps the enormity of it. I think you don't ever want to start it.
Well, I'm sure that's the case with things like that, because if you're buying a bike or a car or something like that, you're probably attracted by the idea of completion.
Yeah.
And like so many projects, it's easy to be put off by all the steps that stand between the beginning and the completion. Right?
Yeah, quite. No, I can understand that. But you mentioned scarcity mindset. We did do an episode on that, exactly that. But I see a lot of the scarcity mindset, especially people that come into rehab, especially those people who've been homeless. Every little item or possession they have is absolutely priceless to them.
Yeah.
And you can understand the angst if something goes missing.
Yeah, but it's exhausting feeling like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Very tiring,
Yeah. Do you, just an aside, do you keep so I thought about this when I was writing the notes earlier on, actually, about do you keep a box of leads, a box of wires to one side in case you ever need them?
Yes.
Yeah, I think most people do, don't they?
and I can say without any doubt that I've almost never needed to delve into it. I'll tell you the other thing that happens though, and as I said earlier, I'm much better at this than I used to be. But it used to be the case that I'd have perhaps a couple of baskets or boxes full of leads and connectors and stuff. Yeah. And then sporadically I'd have a proper clear out. And as soon as I'd had a clear out, I'd need one of the things that I chucked away. That's
Sod's law, really, isn't it? But I think that, my old box of leads, it's got old technology in it. It's got SCART leads and that sort of thing, which, gradually go out of existence. You never need them. But you're right, on one occasion you may potentially need one. I rarely delve into mine, but there's a level of comfort attached to it. That's not sentimental value. I think it's got a practical value to it. Potential.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that is. You're right. That's a little bit more kind of scarcity mindset, isn't it? It's like, what the hell am I going to do if I haven't got this? Well, I mean, in practicality, you'd find another way around it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would.
But I can find myself feeling sentimentally attached to items like that, and perhaps not a SCART lead. But I might have something in that box that reminds me of a particular experience or a time or a piece of equipment or whatever, and I can get quite attached to inanimate objects. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I think because on a rational level, those things like old ticket stubs from football matches or gigs or whatever, it's not the good time it represents, is it? It's the like a T-shirt, for example. You might get a T-shirt from a gig, but I've still got some from my youth, and it's not the actual band that it represents. I think it's an attachment to the time of that of when it happened, and an attachment to perhaps a very enjoyable time in your life.
Yeah, I think those sorts of things like T-shirts and ticket stubs and so on. I mean, even if you're someone who doesn't hold on to those things, I think it's more understandable. You can kind of see why people hold on to stuff like that. It's the more left field stuff that I think people find it difficult to understand. You're holding on to I don't know, a nest of tables that you never use because they
Yeah.
remind you of your childhood or something. You think,
Yeah.
well, it's just getting in the way, isn't it? What's the point of that?
Yeah.
But I think, in that sense, sentimental value is very much in the eye of the beholder, isn't it?
It is, and I think that one that you come across quite a lot, which is very difficult to get rid of, is photographs.
Yes.
You feel like it's some sort of desecration or destroying of the memory if you throw photographs of people away. It's something you hold on to dearly, and it sort of ends up. A lot of this stuff ends up in the loft, doesn't it? If you've got a loft space, you think, I don't want to throw it away, but I'm probably not going to want to use it either or look at it either. And that's where it gets a sort of a limbo situation, isn't it? There.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I took loads and loads of photographs from my mother's house when she died, and in amongst them there were a lot of transparencies, slides, 35mm slides.
Yeah.
Remember when we were kids, you used to have to sit through a slideshow of...
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and the first 10 would be quite good fun, and then you'd be thinking, well, are there any with me in it?
Yeah, that's it.
And then I'd find that most of my mother's presentations were just full of flower arrangements. So I have all those photos. So I've put most of those 35mm slides that I want. I've digitalized them, right? Yeah. So I've got copies of them. Yeah. I still can't throw the slides away.
No, quite.
And in terms of photographs, I've got loads and loads and loads and loads of people I've got no idea who they are, and I haven't got any family members now that would be able to tell me. So what is the point of me holding on to those? It's mental.
You wonder, don't you?
Yeah, I'm going to get rid of them all after this.
Oh yeah, that's it. You're going to have a clear out. It's quite tricky.
I'm going to have a bonfire.
Down the bottom of the garden, yeah. Acrid smoke from burning plastic flies through the air.
Lovely.
Yeah, but it is strange. It is strange. But photographs do hold a sort of allure, don't they? It feels like you're not getting rid of the memory of that person, are you, just by discarding it? But it feels like something of them is going.
No, it was the way, the way you described it, I think is absolutely right. It's like a desecration. To me, it feels wrong to destroy a photograph.
Yeah, it does.
Which is crazy, isn't it? Really?
It is, because your memory of that person doesn't change. But I think sometimes those figures will trigger memories, won't they? You can see stuff in the background, see the dress someone's wearing or whatever,
Yeah, I know, but what about photographs that you've got of people that you've never met and you don't know? I mean, why does that feel why does that feel as if it's sinful? It's just...
Yeah, I know, it's quite strange. I've come across some that I took at, I think one of the first Reading festivals I went to, just of the crowd. I don't know them. But it was, but that represented the time at that.
Yeah, but at least that's it. At least you were there. I've got people, quite. Having their pictures taken from the 1950s, years before I was born. I see who they are, and it's really crazy. But that is right. That's what it feels like to. I wonder if everybody. Do you think everybody feels like that about photographs? That it's kind of wrong to destroy them.
It must do. They must do. I don't know anyone that happily throws them away, but perhaps someone will let us know.
Well, if anybody's listening and they are happy to throw their photos away, get in touch with us.
Yeah. I suppose in the era of digitisation, it is easy just to store them on your computer and that's it.
Yeah, but it's also difficult to delete them, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
You can take 15 pictures of the same scene.
Yeah.
And you can have a clear favourite, but you still find it quite difficult to delete the other 14. Or even if you find it easy to, you forget to, and then you end up with 15,000 pictures on your device. It's crazy.
You're never going to scroll through them. No. And you often think, the next generation would like those. But the next generation probably won't have any more interest in them than you currently have. They're probably
and you'll have forgotten to leave your password for the next generation, so they'll never be able to get into them.
I'll tell you what does happen also. You get sentiment. I've got an old aftershave bottle from my late brother, a goers bottle, and that still smells. And
I remember. Don't you remember? We went to see, someone in Canterbury, Darren Brown, maybe.
Darren Brown, yeah.
And you had it with you, didn't you?
I did. You were supposed to take a sentimental item with you. I don't know what I was expecting.
Right. That's right. And you.
But I did. I took the lid of it with me.
That's right. And you let me have a sniff of it, didn't you?
Yeah.
And and am I right in saying did you ask me, what does this remind you of?
No, I didn't ask you. You just said, that reminds me of Paul. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
so there you go. That's the power of something like that. So you are hanging on to that for sentimental reasons, but actually it feels to me as if there's something very legitimate and powerful in that.
There's more to it than just there is. It is, and I keep it in my bathroom. That bottle. It sits alongside my aftershaves.
Yeah.
And it's it's nearly 40 years now.
Yeah.
And I still that's probably the strongest bit of sentimental value item I've got.
So you keep it next to your Brute 33 and Old Spice.
No, just between that and the high karate. You knew where you were with that. In fact, that used to get a lot of that for Christmas back in the 70s. But
I usually used to get. I don't think I ever got high karate. I used to get Old Spice and Brute 33 though.
Yeah. I think you can still get Brute, can't you?
Well, I think Old Spice has made a comeback as well, hasn't it?
Has it?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting slightly off topic, aren't we?
Yeah, well, we're getting sentimental.
We were getting sentimental.
Yeah.
We were wistfully looking back into our past. What about stuffed toys? Do you ever have got any stuffed toys from your...
Well, it's funny that, because I've got two teddy bears. One was my teddy bear from when I was a small child, and I've also got my sister's from when she was of that age. But although I could never get rid of them, I don't have a particular strong attachment to soft toys at all. No, I don't. You?
No, I found, because I shifted a lot of my stuff. Actually, I used my youngest daughter's loft to...
Right.
So she got a load of space.
I remember,
I put a load of boxes of my old stuff up there because I said, you just throw these away once you've had a look at them when I'm long gone, It's and that had my old teddy in from when I was... it's all gone hard and it's not really furry anymore, but it's still there, so they can just fling it away at some point.
Well, actually, you're passing on that difficulty of throwing things away to your children now.
I know, and I did feel guilty about it after. I thought, well, that's...
Yeah, you should do.
Yeah, because
shameful that is.
They may have an emotional attachment to it purely because it's mine. I've got stuff of my dad's.
Yeah.
That I can't get rid of.
Yeah. I don't think I've got that much now from my parents.
No.
Only bits and pieces. And I suppose that was one of the favours that my mum did me, because she left so much stuff in the house. By the time we got halfway through clearing it out, we were just so sick of doing it, we just got rid of everything.
Yeah.
Whereas if there had been less stuff, I'm sure I would have held on to more.
Yeah. There was an abundance of stuff there, wasn't there?
Yeah. I've got her creaky dining room table, which we used to record this podcast around in the early days.
Oh, we did, didn't we? Yeah. Is that the same one we sat round the other night?
It's exactly the same one. It's the same one that we used to sit round to have our Christmas dinner when I was a child. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that makes there is a sentimental value attached to that, isn't there?
I've also still got my red Christmas stocking that I used to put at the bottom of my bed that used to be full of presents when I'd wake up, and those magical moments when you think, oh, I've got a load of presents. That previous to that was my brother's, so that's like over 60, 65 years old now.
Yeah. So
I never use it. It just comes out with the Christmas decorations every year and then goes back with them when the tree comes down.
Right, but you'd have difficulty throwing that away, wouldn't you? Really?
I wouldn't be able to throw that away.
No.
I wouldn't be able to, no.
I did come across situations where people would keep items that perhaps did provide them a bit of joy at the time, but no longer has that. This can make them sad or bitter now. Things like items from a failed relationship.
Yeah, I was just thinking wedding rings and stuff like that.
Yeah, or suddenly you have an item and then suddenly you find something unfavourable about them.
Right.
Like a Gary Glitter album, for example. You might have
I've got to remember me this way.
There we go. You got a Gary Glitter album. I think I've got a Rolf Harris album as well, tucked away somewhere. And I probably found it of great joy listening to it at the time, but it no longer holds value.
Yeah, I've probably got two little boys on single, which, when you think about it, is,
we should
not
have
a great song for him to have recorded, is it?
We should have known there. The signs were there, weren't they?
Mind you, if you go by that ilk, any record you got from the 1970s by a pop star, pretty much you should probably get rid of.
Well, quite, yeah. I think if you threw everything away like that, you'd have a very slimmed down record collection. Well, what if about things like? Do you think if you have not those albums, but if you have something like a letter from an ex, for example,
Yeah.
it can keep you connected to that painful experience, can't it? Or something that ended badly if you keep hold of it. Is it right? Is there sort of a liberation in the end? Because I know people, for example, when a relationship breaks down, we've known it where they'll cut people out of their photographs, won't they? Or they will delete stuff, or they will get rid of items that remind them of that person. But there seems to be some people that would deliberately keep them to keep the pain.
Yeah. Or to remind, sometimes I think people keep stuff like that to remind themselves of not getting hurt again.
Exactly, yeah. Which is
I'm unusually, I think, in areas like this, I think I have a reasonably healthy attitude towards this sort of stuff. I haven't kept anything like that. I've not been bothered about that. You know, if something's done, then eventually, although it might take me a while, eventually I'll kind of let go of it. So I don't keep stuff like that, and I'm not sure it's terribly healthy to, really. You know, why, as you say, why keep something that reminds you of something painful? I know that people, as I say, do it because it's like this sort of weird way of reminding them not to get fooled again, as it were. But, you know, that doesn't really the only person it's weighing down is you, isn't it?
I think so. And it leads me on to the point which is relevant to this podcast. I threw away, or people threw away for me as well, every memento associated with my drinking past.
Right.
This includes...
What sorts of things are we talking about?
I had like a Jack Daniel's T-shirt.
Oh, okay.
For example. I remember having a phone holder. You know, you could have it on your desk and you put your phone in. That said Beer Monster on it. I had like Duff Beer, like Simpsons Duff Beer socks.
Yeah.
And they had to go, even though I mean those socks and stuff come from my children. It was still something that I couldn't really keep hold of, because most of the presents I received at that time referred to my drinking. It's very easy to buy cards for people. In fact, my eldest daughter Emily, I was with her and my grandchildren yesterday, and she was saying it's really difficult at Father's Day to find a card without beer on it.
Beer or football, isn't it?
Or drinking. Yeah, football's all right. But obviously, in my case, she said sifting through all the Father's Day cards, so many of them have drink associations.
Yeah, you see, with your selfish drinking, you've made life difficult for your daughter.
Well, it defined me at the time, didn't it? At the time. So I was very easy to buy for. I was very easy for many years to buy because there's so much stuff available. But not so now. But it just takes a little bit more thought.
Do you think that sort of excavation and clearance, a scorched earth policy towards anything that reminds you of your drinking or is references drinking, is that something that's, I mean, I imagine you'd encourage that in people who are in recovery, but do you think generally people do that of their own volition anyway? Yeah, I do, because it does become a reminder of a particularly horrible time. Even things like, you know, I got rid of all the beer glasses I had, or any pint. I've got no pint glasses in the house, no wine glasses, anything like that associated with drinking. Yeah. Gone, and that felt quite liberating. Getting rid of everything like that. That definitely was drawing a line under my past relationship with alcohol. Yeah. Gone. And that was nice. But we obviously encourage that because it can be quite triggery in the early days. The early stages of recovery, you don't want those reminders around. There's enough reminders outside of your own house. Yeah. Your own house. I mean, there's no sentimental value in thinking about your drinking days, is there? No, there isn't. No, I don't look wistfully back at it. Although having said that, we did do an episode on fade effect bias, and so you can pick and choose some of those moments sometimes when you were. Yeah, but that's more of an erroneous way of thinking about your past, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is, yeah. But because, you can filter out the shit bits. In reality, your drinking days were, well, in the end, they were shit, weren't they? They were filled with angst and depression and anxiety and every other motivation apart from what it's supposed to do for you. Yeah. And that's really, well, there was a study I was looking at, and that looked at letters from exes, because apparently that's quite prevalent. It happens quite a lot. Even though you don't want to look at them
or to it seems it's some sort of, perhaps there is a slight hankering perhaps after that ex.
Oh, there's definitely that. I think that's definitely part of it, isn't it? That people hang on to them because they haven't really let go of the relationship.
No, and I think it tended to fall into the category if the person that had done something bad to upset the relationship, keeping hold of that letters, for example, it's sort of almost like a punishment because they felt guilt or self-blame or, there's a lot of self-criticism going on.
But even when a relationship, even when nobody's done anything wrong necessarily in a relationship, and a relationship is broken up, you quite often find that, one person is less happy about the end of it than the other.
Yeah.
And I think in those situations, sometimes people can hang on to mementos because it's almost like a sort of illustration of something unfulfilled in them.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right there. And I think that, people also, I've known people that hold on to stuff like that with a hope that perhaps that relationship will be rekindled.
Precisely.
And so there is a sort of a connection still with that person that you don't want to get rid of.
Exactly that, yeah. There's a kind of romanticism that I'm going to hold on to this because I know one day we'll be together, that sort of idea, yeah.
Yeah, you can suddenly produce it and say, look, I kept hold of this even though we were apart. Yeah.
Which in reality, in 99% of cases, is bullshit.
Not the case, yeah. There was other areas of keeping hold of stuff, a little bit more bizarre, where I was reading about serial killers that keep trophies from each of their victims.
Nice. Right.
Yeah, and it didn't really fall into sentimental value because I don't think it was more
that
about...
feels a bit more about power.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
I think that's about power, isn't it?
Yeah. You haven't kept any trophies for anyone you've killed, have you?
Not recently.
Not recently, no. So perhaps over time they will achieve sentimental value. Yeah. And there's another one where people will keep objects associated with traumatic events. It can be saved as a tribute to those harmed or lost to sort of illness or injury or violence. Apparently, there's some people that would go and get debris from bombings, for example.
Yeah.
And that's sort of macabre, really, but it is a...
Well, I kind of understand that a little bit because it's a...
Yeah.
Because if you lose someone like that in very traumatic circumstance suddenly, I think sometimes there can be this feeling of you're kind of desperate for a connection that's suddenly been lost, and having a piece of something seemingly random, might be what enables you to feel a little bit of that. Yeah,
it is, because I did exactly the same when you remember when John was killed in a car accident.
Yeah.
I went to the tree, and I used to visit the tree quite often, and I found a bit of his old wing mirror from his BMW there, and I kept hold of that for a long time. In fact, I might still have it somewhere in a box.
Oh, I was going to ask if you still have it.
Yeah.
So if you found it now in a box, bearing in mind that was, 1990?
Yeah.
Would you be able to get rid of it now?
I think I probably would now. Yeah, I think I probably would.
So what would that say?
I've got over it. I've not got over it, but I've adjusted accordingly.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's that, isn't it? I mean, I don't think you ever get over a bereavement, but I think if you saw that and you were able to get rid of it, that would be an indication that you dealt with your grief, wouldn't it? It would be saying, I always think about the work of grieving as being the ability to hold that person that you knew in your heart, rather than lead them around physically. And that's what that bit of wing mirror is. It's a kind of physical manifestation of John, isn't it?
Yeah, quite.
If you get to the point where you think, okay, I accept that person isn't physically here anymore, then you don't really need a physical reminder anymore.
No, you don't. Absolutely right. But I also get this, I think I might have created a bit of pressure on other people I've almost created sentimental value in my own items for other people.
How do you mean?
It was like I did a painting. I did it was an acrylic painting I did, and I put I did the sideways logo with my eye looking to one side, and I did a representation of that on a canvas, and next to it did a poem that I'd written when I was 3 years sober. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I put that all onto a canvas, and I was saying to I think it was Lizzie, my youngest, when she was up here. I was saying to her that you need to put that on your wall when I'm long gone, because it's my eye. I'm going to still look over you. And it wasn't afterwards. I thought I've put real pressure. She might not like the painting. I might think it's not a good thing to keep. But I've almost created sentimental value for another person.
Well, that's an interesting point, that, because yes, you're right that it's possible that in that case she would feel obliged.
Yeah,
that's true. But I think it's also true that when you say something like that, you're actually talking about that picture from your own perspective of sentiment.
Yeah, yeah.
And Lizzie won't share that.
No, quite.
No, her sentiment will be hers. Because I can think of things that my mum said to me. When my mum was alive, my mum said to me, oh, when I'm gone, I want you to have that. And I haven't got any of those things, apart from the table. I wanted the table. But there were a couple of other things I thought, I don't want them. They're not as important to me as they were to you.
No, that's it.
And I think no matter how sentimental you are about things, you can't create sentiment if you don't have it. You can't suddenly make yourself feel attached to something if you're not attached to it. So I'm not convinced that that sentimental value can be betrothed.
No, you're right.
Handed down, as it were.
Which is where my notes come to an end there, because I just made a note that the sentimentality is not really a transferable emotion.
Yeah.
As far as items are concerned. There's stuff that we keep and think, I can't get rid of that. Other people will quite happily, or next generation will be quite happily to bin it.
Yeah. So, Lizzie, if you want to take it straight down the tip when he's gone,
you'll put it on the fire. Feel free.
You can put it on the fire with my photos.
Yeah, exactly. They could have a proper burn up. But that's about it. But I found it quite an interesting journey on the research on that one, because it threw up a lot of memories. Hey?
Did you have to use that word, journey?
Oh, I didn't have to, and it slipped in. I didn't notice it. It's you that brought.
I wondered if you were going to talk about Marie Kondo. Do you know Marie Kondo?
I don't.
The joy of. Hang on, what's it called? The magical joy of tidying, or something like that.
No.
She's a guru for sort of decluttering.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
And I read her book. I can't remember what it's called now. It's really bugging me. But anyway, I read her book, and then some years later, I noticed that on her website she'd started selling all sorts of old tat.
Oh, really?
Thought, hang on, this isn't okay. You write a book about decluttering, and then you're making a load of money from selling people stuff that is supposedly, elegant and stylish, that they probably don't need. So
there's no irony there, isn't there?
Yeah, I remember finding that when I had an old wallet that I thought, I need to get rid of this and buy myself a new wallet. And then when I saw that she had all that tat on her website, I kept hold of the wallet and threw her book away.
It suddenly had less value to you. The
book, life-changing magic of tidying, I think it's called, something like that.
All right.
Anyway,
so you're not recommending it right now.
Well, I quite enjoyed it at the time, but in hindsight, no.
Well, you found out information about it, didn't you? A bit like the Glitter album.
Exactly, yeah. So, Jez, you don't have to go and buy that one.
Okay. He doesn't have to, no. You're not recommending it.
No.
Anyway, conundrum feature then. Have you remembered to find one?
Yeah. Right. I think, so it's this. Should you tell prospective buyers about faults with your car?
Oh. Yes.
Okay.
I would say yes.
Do you want to expand on that at all?
I do. Well, the last car that I got rid of, it was falling apart. And in fact, I scrapped it. Would
have been difficult to hide it then, wouldn't it?
Well, no, it would have had more value if I'd have sold it on the open market. Not a great deal than what I got for scrap. So I could have got more money for it, but I couldn't pass that car on to someone else, because they it would only been a few miles up the road, and the same problems that I was having with it would come, and they'd get the same anxieties that I was having.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds reasonable because I suppose you're. So, is there a distinction to be made between mechanical and cosmetic issues? Or would you class them in the same way? I'm asking for a friend.
Oh right, yeah. I'd probably. I mean, we all hear of these things where people have stuffed newspapers into dented wings and sprayed over it and that sort of thing. And I think was it uberrima fides, the Latin phrase for "let the buyer beware." There is a bit of that going on, isn't there? But you'd feel, and most people would hide stuff, wouldn't they, and not tell people about things if they're selling something like that. But I certainly, I was just looking from my own personal experience. I found I had a twinge of guilt about potentially going down that route, and it wasn't financially that much different anyway. So I could.
Yeah, well, if it had been financially very different.
Yeah, I probably would have forgotten. I'd have swallowed my pride, swallowed my. No, I don't. No, I don't think. I couldn't do it. I do generally have a problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you? How do you?
Well, I just don't. I think generally speaking, I would feel the same. But I thought about it because I remember. I don't know if you remember. I used to have a red BMW. Do you remember that car?
I do. Yeah.
Estate little 3 Series. And when I eventually came to sell it. For some reason, I don't know what happened to the doors, but this kind of spring had gone on the doors, and so they sort of just swung, really heavily whenever you opened them. And someone came round to buy it, and I thought, should I tell them about the door? Because it put me off. That put me off because I think, well, I've got to go and have that fixed now. And I didn't say anything, and I thought, well, if they discover it, then that'll be that. But they didn't, and they bought it. And I've always thought about it. And I can't honestly say that I feel terrible about it because it wasn't. That's why I asked the question about mechanical versus cosmetic because it didn't ruin the car. The car ran perfectly well. But I think I've always had a kind of slight twinge of guilt about that. Although they never came back and said, hey, you didn't tell me about the doors, you bastard.
Yeah, there's always that. But I'd have less problem if it was going to a dealer. I think it's the recipient that would probably changed my mind about how I dealt with it. I think in the past I've sort of almost rolled a car into a dealership to get a PX on it because it hardly works. I have no problem with that. But send it to a person, especially if it turns out someone you know or something like that. That's a point. If it was
you wouldn't sell a car to someone you know, would you?
Oh, well, that's it, because you'd definitely tell them about it then, wouldn't you?
I just think I think all that sort of stuff is pretty dangerous anyway, doing any sort of business with someone you know. I mean, I know I did with you when you were doing a different job, but that was a bit different. I knew you were a perfectionist, which is exactly what you want when you've got someone doing some decorating. But I would always steer clear of doing any sort of transaction or business with someone I knew. Because even if something went wrong and you didn't know anything about it, it was completely, I'd still feel bad. I'd think, oh, God, the car's broken down or you need a new engine or whatever. You know what I mean?
I do, but I think, so the conundrum you set, I think it seems to be entirely dependent upon the recipient. Because
and again, the situation.
It does, yeah. Because you say to the dealer, you don't care. You'd hide as much as you possibly can and hope they don't pick it up. Because I did try and take my old Jag to get it to PX, and they sort of laughed at me under it, which was a bit terrible. Which is why I ended up scrapping it because I couldn't get a PX on it. It was unvaluable, really. They couldn't put anything on there that was any sense, and they didn't want the ag. They offered me naught. They said, you just leave it here if you like, and we'll get rid of it. But
naught isn't very much, is it?
It's not great, is it?
The other thing that I thought about with this sort of declaring stuff, not just on cars but anything else, even if there's nothing wrong, sometimes it kind of backfires and people are suspicious of you. I sold a really nice vintage amp a few years ago for quite a lot of money, and the guy bought it, and it was in perfect working order. It was absolutely perfect, and I sold it. And then about a week later, the bloke, came back to me and said, "Oh, it's given up. It's completely conked out." And that was just luck, I think. But I don't think he thought that. I think he thought, you've turned me over here. But I hadn't. So even if you're honest, sometimes people won't believe you, will they?
No, quite.
Anyway, there we are.
Anyway, I think we've put that one to bed there. It is dependent upon where it's going, I think, yeah.
Yeah, do you want to buy a car?
No, I don't, mate. No. Are you trying to sell yours at the moment? Is that
No,
what
I'm not. No,
that's
no,
where all this was leading from.
No, I'm not. I'm not trying to sell it at all. No.
Anyway,
But if the springs go in the doors, I'll probably try and sell it.
if it's in the passenger's door, you just hope that they don't discover it for a long time afterwards.
It was the passenger door.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, a gratitude list then.
Yep.
I mean, there's quite a lot for people to be grateful for over Christmas, not least spending time with family, and which has been nice, family and friends. But on my gratitude list, you know how much I hate the prezi giving and receiving situation. I found it quite liberating this year watching the residents at the rehab opening their presents on Christmas Day. We'd got an awful lot. They did very well out of us, really, because we got an awful lot donated. A lot of local companies gave stuff, and so each person, had 5 or 6 gifts in a bag.
That's nice.
And it was really lovely just to see again some of those people that have very little when they came in. It was an absolute joy to watch people opening. I got real joy.
Yeah, that is lovely.
I was grateful to witness that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Did you steal any of their gifts?
Of course not. No. I joined in the joy.
And nobody got any liqueur chocolates, I hope.
No. There's another story. I'll have to tell you off air. But anyway, yes.
Okay. Well, you've already described what I'm grateful for. I am grateful for being able to spend Christmas with my family, because as they get older, I think, you don't take that for granted, do you?
No, you don't
think, well, we'll definitely be together.
Yeah,
particularly as Tom's partner is a doctor, so the fact that she wasn't working was very fortuitous.
Yeah.
So I've become very grateful for those Christmases that we can still spend together, because I suspect as the years go by, they'll become less frequent. So, yeah, it's been lovely.
So, and also having Lena there as if you keel over.
If you get a bit of turkey stuck in your throat or something.
Yeah, she's on hand and she'll sort you out. I think everyone should have a round foot at Christmas. In fact, she should be a permanent part of that, just in case. Make the whole situation feel a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you should definitely have a family doctor, shouldn't you?
I think so. Yeah. You are lucky. You should be grateful for that.
Yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that they were all around and it was super.
That's it on the gratitude then.
That is, yeah.
Quite festive based. We just go on to our last little bit, which is the best-selling singles in the UK in certain years and FA Cup winners. Yeah. The first one, I've done 1980, 1990, and 2000 here.
1980.
Yeah, you're going to get the FA Cup winners for that, aren't you? Easily.
What are we doing first, the single or the FA Cup?
Do the single. What do you think the best-selling single of 1980 was in the UK?
I'm going to need a little.
Yeah, you
blue.
are, aren't you?
Yeah.
The lead singer also plays the bass guitar.
Oh, was it level 42?
No.
Oh.
I hope I haven't given you a bum steer there. And I'm sure he does play there. It was a trio. They had they're very big.
It wasn't Rush, was it?
No, it wasn't Rush. They didn't tend to release many singles, did they?
No. Oh, no, I don't know. 1980, the lead singer plays a bass guitar.
Yeah, he's also an actor. He's been in films and stuff as well in the past. One particular favourite film of mine from that time.
I sense that I might be being very dense here.
Geordie.
I don't know. Who is it?
One of the emergency services.
Oh bloody hell! Was it really the police?
Exactly.
Oh, so I can't get any points for that because you've basically gave it to me on a plate. The song though, so I think their first single would have been 1979, which would have been "Message in a Bottle." I would have thought. Was it? Or was it Roxanne? Was it Roxanne?
No. One about when he was a teacher, going back to it because he was an ex-teacher as well, wasn't he?
Oh, no, I don't know. Which one was it?
Don't Stand So Close to Me.
Oh. So I didn't do terribly well there, did I?
No, I can't give any points for that. But you're going to cane the next one, the FA Cup for.
I think the FA Cup winners might have been West Ham, who played Arsenal, won 1-0 with Trevor Brookings scoring a diving header in about, I would say it was perhaps, between the 20th and 30th minute.
It was very, you got it pretty much spot on. So we give you 5 points for West Ham, 5 for Arsenal, 5 for the score. Say 15
I can tell you the colours they were all playing in if you want.
No, okay.
But it was as I recall, it was a powerful header.
Bullet. What about 1990? Now, I'll have to give you a little bit of a steer on this because this was the best-selling single in 1990 was a re-release of a single that was originally came out in 1965, and it became the best-selling single of 1990 because of a film that it was associated with. A film
right.
Part of the.
It was not bloody wet, 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 is it?
No.
That's the film. So the re-release was the re-release. It's not a cover. It was a re-release of the original.
They re-released the original. Yeah, it was originally in 1965. They re-released it in 1990 after it was on a soundtrack of a big film from that year.
No, I'm not getting anything here.
Okay, I'll give you the film. I don't know if that'll help. The film was Ghost.
Oh, it was Unchained Melody.
Exactly.
By the Righteous Brothers.
Exactly.
And I hate it with passion.
Well, that's not up for debate here, but thank you for your input.
Do you like it?
It's not part of the quiz. It was ruined really when people like was it Robson and Jerome? They did a cover version, and so
yeah, they did.
I like the original one. I liked the original one, the 1965 version. When I think it just reminds me, talking about Sentimental, it reminds me of my auntie Val. I think she used to sing that one and play that one back in the 60s.
Okay, well, I'll let you have that. But I mean, I think as we've discussed before, I'm not a big fan of 60s music, really.
No, quite.
Well, until the Beatles came along, of course.
So we're going to give any points for that then, do you reckon?
Well, I think probably a couple.
Yeah, we'll give you 5.
I mean, I did get it as soon as you told me the film.
You did. I'll give you 10 points then.
Yeah, it's Christmas.
Because you won't get the. Actually, no, you might get the FA Cup winners in that year, 1990.
1990. I've got no idea really.
It was one of the last ones. I mean, this one went to a replay. Remember the days when you could get replayed on a Wednesday evening if it was a draw on the Saturday?
Was it Tottenham?
No.
Were they involved?
No, they weren't. But Ian Wright was.
Okay. So was it Arsenal by then?
No.
Was he still at Crystal Palace?
He was. So that's one of the teams.
So Crystal Palace, did they win it then?
No.
So Crystal Palace lost to Liverpool.
No, they lost to Man United. It was a 3-3 draw in the first game. That's when Wrighty came on and scored a couple of goals, didn't he?
I don't remember that at all.
And then the replay went to the following Wednesday and Man United.
That was in my wilderness years.
Your wilderness years of FA Cup watching. I can't give any points there really for that.
No, fair enough.
And now the year 2000, this was the top selling single in the UK. Is how the hell this happened, I really don't know.
No, it must be Boston or Journey.
No, it's not. No, it's even worse than that. Which is it's a real.
Is it one of the comedy records? One of the stupid ones, the
Really
Birdie song or something?
No, it wasn't. It was one from a children's program.
Oh, no, you're gonna have to give me some more.
Yeah, it's very. It was did they do another single? About digging?
Oh, Bob the Builder.
Yeah, exactly.
Bob the Builder. Can we fix it? Yes, we can.
That's it. Bob the Builder, Can We Fix It? Top selling single. Can you believe that?
Great song, isn't it?
It's awful.
I've got it on 12-inch.
I bet you have. So what
I
about
used to love Bob the Builder.
Did you?
Yeah, brilliant.
What about the cup final? Now, I didn't remember this at all, this one, the cup final of 2000. I was starting to enter my wilderness years at this point. I was flirting with it.
Okay, let's go Nottingham Forest, Newcastle.
No. It was Chelsea Aston Villa 1-0 to Chelsea.
Oh, I don't remember,
that.
So that sounds like a dreadful affair.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, that's okay. So anyway,
Well, I think we should draw a discreet veil over that then, because I think I've probably got about 10 points in
25.
total.
Well, you got the West Ham one, and you the Righteous Brothers are giving 25 points. So
Well, it's an inauspicious end to the year, isn't it?
It is really.
Let's put it like that.
It is, and I think that although I've managed to get, even though I forgot to do the recording last week, I managed to get one in before the end of the year, so we can just wish our listeners a happy New Year, can't we?
We can, because this will drop on the 2nd of January, won't it? When everybody will need a bit of a lift.
They will, won't they? We haven't given them one, but they'll still be needing one after they've listened.
Yeah, all right, okay. Well, yes, a happy New Year to all of our listeners, and hoping that 2025 is a peaceful one, and and all the rest of it.
Filled with serenity and gratitude. That's
exactly.
We need.
Yeah. All right.
Good work. Okay, mate.
Laters.
Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.